Ah, the great carnivorous plant of the depths. The hallucinogen of those who are too cheap to buy real drugs. Adventurers crave it, and cave developers live with it. The Barcelode is the embodiment of a Venus flytrap without the sweetness of poison. It's actually quite fairly powerful for lower end adventuring. Higher end, I mean, it's there. It's got low light vision with no eyes, so that's fun. The picture. Tremor sense is always good. Granted, it doesn't have a distance, so it must be really, really basic tremor sense. 18 AC, I mean, that's kind of a joke, but it's a plant, so the immunities come out of it. It's got an immunity to cold because of its cold lethargy, so that's nice. Its hits are kind of. Ascend isn't bad for CR5, but it's not going to send a whole lot home. However, it is one of the rare times where a 1d8 plus 7 plus a spore. The spore is just a poison without the poison resistance or immunity to it. There's the hallucination clouds that are always effective. It's got pretty decent stats considering it's a plant. I mean, 20 strength is pretty good for CR5s to sit around with, especially not being large or bigger. And it's primarily found in any kind of real underground. Mostly, probably, mostly in this incentivizing is it lives in the more planty areas, sustaining itself off of pretty much high nutrition water or air or however you want to describe it, or as most people call it, blood. It farms adventurers to feed its substance to grow more and care, and with its hallucinations, you can't blame it. You take one whiff and poof, you fly out of there. It's not the worst level of dealing with it, but at the same time, I mean, it's a standard action, which kind of rough to go and deal with. But it's one of those standard actions that poofs out this big puffy cloud of spores. And upon failure, whether you willingly chose to do it or not, you begin hallucinating. And it varies anywhere from hallucinating to a new place, simply thinking something bad's happening to you, to even as mundane as even believing you're shrinking and stuff. Or, whatever the GM decides they want to shove in there to make it creative. Surprise, 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 it's a cloud of spores that lasts a couple rounds and is easily blown away by most wind situations. It's got a DC that's not really going to affect you a huge amount, so can't get much worse on that problem. Could use some number updates, but everything needs number updates these days. As with its hitting, it does have this lovely hitting function of hitting you and grafting spores that actually act like a poison more than anything else. Well, disease. Yeah, the same difference for most of it. But it pretty much uses that as a incentive to keep feeding and keeping you around. It's on hit, so it's not the worst disease to have to deal with. But when it's two different versions of spores, whether it's a hallucination crowd or smacking you around a bit to get it, it can be worse. Once again, sitting at that solid DC 16, which you could wonder more, but it also said one of the circumstances of it growing them in your lungs and body parts. And inhale is pretty nice because most things don't have resistance against inhaling stuff. But the things that do usually are immune to disease anyway, so 1d2 con is pretty rough for CR5, so that's not the worst in the world. And then after that, it's ironically, no, not all the funness of here and there. It is a creature born to live in hotter climates. Not to say it can't be in cold ones, because it is immune to cold. But in return for that immunity, it does, however, slow the power thing down. So it's not impossible for it to live in the area, it's just being slowed is pretty bad. I mean, 1d4 rounds of cold doesn't mean much unless you, well, hit it with probably one of the most common cantrics in the game, because everyone walks around with Acid Splash or Ray of Frost, so that's kind of unfortunate for it. It has that weakness and very easy exploiting the weakness. But needless to say, you can use this poor thing for all kinds of variety. Whether you want to send them into, like, the peyote fever dreams of going wherever, hallucination dreams of going and doing things. Even so far as some of the more uh, evil involved characters probably use this as a very easy drug source to keep farming and sourcing and growing and making this thing do all kinds of bad things. But most of the time in an adventure, you're probably not going to run into one of these. They show up in a lot of adventures. Usually the river cities is the big place to go and see because they've got lots of humid caves. And the Mogwais have a bunch of them, but that's terrain that varies from high to low, considering every terrain under the book. Needless to say, it can be used for a lot and little. It's not amazing, it's not great, but it's CR5. So you're not getting picky, and you're not getting a bunch of options otherwise. So 4 and 4, consume at your own risk.